Hello, and welcome back to the Xbox Hut. Destiny was one of the most hyped games of the year. It received a ton of marketing, and oftentimes went viral through word of mouth on social media. There's no denying that the expectations for this game were through the roof. Having said that, review copies for this game were purposely held off until the game's release by the publisher and developer. Was this good news or bad news? Well, let's find out. Destiny is brought to us by a studio with incredibly high pedigree with the Halo series, Bungie. There's a certain level of expectation that goes with that developer's name, and almost Nintendo-like excitement from Xbox fans. So is Destiny the game to show what Bungie can do now that they're no longer working on Halo? Let's get the good out of the way first. Destiny is polished, incredibly polished. The gunplay and combat offer a level of fluidity, yet feel heavy enough to not tread into the territory of being a Twitch shooter. There's no denying that this game handles exceptionally well as a first-person shooter. And then there are these super abilities. These take you into third person for a brief moment and allow you to do things like this. They're used fairly infrequently compared to your gun, but they are powerful moves that you know you can turn to when things heat up, and you'll look cool doing it. Combat is, then, essentially perfect. But then there's everything else, or the lack thereof. You will shoot, and you will use your super abilities. And you will shoot, and shoot, and shoot. You'll dabble in one of two vehicles in the entire game at any given time. But then it's back to shooting, and holding the X button, and holding the X button. Yes, Destiny becomes repetitive very quickly. Fortunately, I had the infrequent company of a friend, and therein lies Destiny's intention all along. Playing this game without friends is an almost comatose experience. So why would you keep playing it then? One word: loot. Upgrading and getting new gear is really what Destiny boils down to, and when you do it with friends, take into account the perfectly polished combat, crank up the difficulty with level 20+ strikes, you have a formula that is addictively fun. It's unfortunate then that it's almost bait-and-switch advertising that the greatest appeal of Destiny is loot. Oh, and then there's PvP multiplayer. It's fun, but not quite the draw of some of Destiny's biggest competition. It is unfortunately true that the game lacks the number of planets and overall real estate everyone expected. To top that off, the weapon variety of non-legendary and non-exotic equipment boils down to a few models per basic weapon type, and for a loot-based game, that is completely unacceptable. When you consider the games this loot system draws upon, this isn't a pretty picture. Add to that three classes that barely distinguish themselves other than minor aesthetics and their primary super abilities. The other abilities are just different versions of one another between the classes and subclasses, and the word grind begins to form. Destiny is a grinding game on top of being a loot game. On the flip side, one redeeming factor is that later missions up the challenge level quite a bit, forcing a mere team of 3 to sweat bullets, and does add some incentive to rise to the challenge. Bungie gets this part right on every level. The game looks fabulous, don't let naysayers tell you otherwise. The Xbox One version gets the full 1080p treatment and a solid 30 frames per second. The environments are properly detailed and planets follow consistent themes, yet with enough variety within the planet to pleasantly surprise you just when you thought you'd seen it all. Also, the music is epically subtle, yet situationally thematic, and sound effects are a good blend of futuristic and explosive. Your eyes and ears are in for a real treat. Destiny was met with Nintendo-like odds. The expectations were of such monumental proportions that, in Bungie's defense, I don't think they could have possibly been met. However, in the end, the one thing that struck me the most was the level of polish this game has. Its biggest strength is its core structures, and that means this franchise has potential. Potential that was not met with its first outing. This game isn't the game people expected, but it has the potential to be that game perhaps in its sequel and its inevitable DLC expansions. Destiny isn't there yet, but it's definitely on the right path. I give Destiny an 8 out of 10.
We are from Earth. We're here to seek the counsel of the Awoken.
I really did enjoy playing this game with a friend, and that's how this game has always been advertised. If you want to pick this game up, make sure you have someone to play with. That's it for today. I'll see you all next time on the Xbox Hut.